All right. So I have another special guest with me today. This time I have Mr. Daniel. He is an author and he has figured it out financially, guys. He has written Escape the Clock, and you can find him on escapetheclock.com. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I am happy you are here because this is something that I'm definitely looking forward to hearing. Yeah, just tell us about a little bit about got into this,
Yeah,
who you
sure.
are.
Well, I never set out to write a book or to do anything like that. It was something that kind of just happened based on, we go through the flow of life. When I was young, no one in my family had gone to university. I was living in a poverty situation, but I was driven to get out of it. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do the best I can with school. And I borrowed all the money I could, and I went to university and put myself through it. And I remember I even picked a job, not because I thought it was going to be my passion, but just because it was what I thought I could get a reasonable salary to pay my debts off with. And I wasn't earning a lot of money after that. I was working through Ohio, job to job, doing the best I could, and the debt had really piled up. And I realized I just had to get organized. So I began to put together a program for myself to be able to get into a better financial state. And as I was running through that and educating myself on everything from like, what is this 401k thing? Like, why are there so many types of IRAs? What is it like? Wait, there's like more than one type of savings account. What
Right.
do I do with my money here? Should I spend it? Should I not spend it? Do I borrow? There's actually different types of loans. There's different ways to buy a house. There's different ways to save for college. There's just so many financial events that we go through in life, yet almost no education about
Absolutely.
any of this. And so I just spent 20 years educating myself and figuring it out the best I could, putting strategies into place, everything from stock market to how to invest, how to save, how to budget. And it worked out for me. I was able to achieve financial independence after about 20 years of running my own program, and it got some attention, and people really wanted to know what I had learned and how to do it for themselves. And so that's why I wrote Escape the Clock, because my goal, at least the way I see myself, is I think of myself as a financial freedom evangelist. I want to help other people have the freedom of getting their time back.
That's amazing because Lord knows we could all use a little bit of our time right now. So many of us are looking for these side hustles that get rich quick, quick schemes and escaping the 9 to 5 and the hustle and bustle of commuting to work and being away from your kids and not having free time. And so I heard a show you did. You sent
Jonathan.
me the link and I saw the show. And you have a bit of a different vibe on for your book, don't you? Like,
Yeah.
it's because numbers are boring. I think it's very daunting to me, anyways. I think it's very daunting. The whole, like you were talking about, there's so many ways to do this and so many ways to do that, but you kind of made it fun, right?
I didn't want to write a school book. I didn't want to write a
Yeah, who wants
textbook.
to go back to school?
I personally like I did my best at school, but I didn't really enjoy school all that much. I guess I'm more of a creative person, and so I love stories. I love storytelling, and I tried to tap into that as best as I could when I wrote the book. And yes, there is like money stuff and math in the book. You can't get away from that because honestly, that's what makes this so solvable. It is a bit of a math problem, right? You have a certain amount of money coming in, and where you put that money and how much it grows will tell you how fast you can get to that target goal that you need to make. And so there's some of that in there, but my goal is to make that as easy as possible by providing a free tool which everybody can get access to, even if you don't read the book, which you can find at the website. But that tool is just for you to be able to put your information in and start to see where you stand and work through getting to your goals. But in the book itself, I wanted to create, scenarios and stories, and so I picked characters from one of my favorite video games series, and I kind of built those in through the book. And a lot of the book is based on my experiences, but also research with a lot of experts in different fields, which then get told to you through stories and through charts and through graphics and things like that to make it a little bit more easy to digest and hopefully a little more fun to read.
Yeah, and so we don't feel like we're back in school and it's like a chore that we have to, or it's like homework. So I'm looking forward to checking it out, actually. Let me just go on and move forward here with how do you feel the current state of events is impacting our finances?
It's scary, to be honest. Like we've all grown up in a certain system, and that system has issues. Like, I mean, you can't deny that some change needs
Things
to
don't,
happen,
yeah.
right? And so the question though is this the right way to enact that change? Because what we're living through today is a way completely blowing up the system, but blowing it up without really a plan. Even worse, it's a gamble. Like a lot of what we're seeing now is eliminating free trade, taxing the idea that even our friends or allies are, going to be able to benefit in a win-win situation with us. Because what are economies really, if anything, but access to resources, which then create a supply and demand that we can benefit by trading. If we put a cost on that, if we eliminate the ability for labor to come in and help us, get access to those resources and move those resources, refine those resources, all that's going to do is create challenges. And eliminating the workforces that we have access to and putting tariffs and taxes on everything, I can understand the intent of that gamble, but it's hard to say that this is really where the attention needs to go, especially when I
Mhm.
watch so many people losing so much wealth in the middle, and that's really hard to see.
Yeah, I mean, the middle class is diminishing. Let's talk about like some common financial mistakes. I know we make them, and how do we avoid them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first one is probably the obvious one, which is the cost of borrowing money. So if
Ooh.
you So, I mean, and it's not just an individual. Like as a country, the United States has over $17.5 trillion in debt, and 1.13 trillion of that is credit card. And so the average rate's over $6,000 per person. And when you're looking at the average APY of 29%, you can imagine, like, if someone came to you and said, "Look, I'll give you $1, but you have to pay me $1.30 back," they put it in that term, maybe you'd be a little bit more hesitant to do it. Yet we don't actually make it clear to people the cost of borrowing.
Mhm.
And borrowing is really just taking money from your future self to your present self to
Hmm.
balance capital. But that's not the way people have been educated on it. They just see it as easier access to increase their existing utility, which means their happiness today by having more of something. Well,
Mhm.
if my means is to use a credit card for that, that's what I'm going to do because I don't have a lot of happiness in my life. Maybe that's the thing I feel like I need to do. So the system is kind of set up to designed around, hey, you go ahead, you you can get a credit card, you can get a couple credit cards. We're going to let you do that, and then once you're delinquent, you're in trouble. It's going to hurt your rates. Maybe even people come after you for it. Like that's not a good system there. And that's probably the first thing is to be very serious about why you're using a credit card or why you're borrowing, or even if you've already done it and you're in trouble, there's lots of great ways to get out of that and become debt free. Because once you're debt free, the cash flow you do have, you can start to take any surplus that you're able to win back and put that towards investing towards your financial independence.
Investing is very daunting too.
Yes, I
I'm
know.
scared of investing. Maybe your book will teach me something. What are the key principles of successful investing?
Yeah, I guess first I just mentioned that the top 1% hold 32% of the wealth in the United States, meaning only 1% of the top is holding most of the wealth. The bottom 50% has only 2.6% of the wealth. So that means 50% of all people only have 2% of wealth in this country. That just shows you that there is a group of people really benefiting, and that's just dwarfing. It's growing, right? And so I have to say, investing is necessary to get ahead. And the folks that are already ahead, that's easy for them. They can afford to
Mhm.
make mistakes. They can afford to get large gains from their investments. They can afford to have other people do it. So
Mhm.
it's a little unfair, but you need to
It's a lot
stretch those.
unfair.
Yeah, it is. But I find that with a little bit of education here, you're able to do this. So what you need to be able to do is take those couple dollars you have and find a smart way to invest them so that they can become many more dollars over time. So I don't believe in get rich quick schemes at all. I believe
Mhm.
in get rich slow schemes. And the way I look at it is once you get rid of that debt, which is like basically sucking away all of your extra money, then you take whatever you can and you start to smartly invest that money so that you can start to get ahead. And then all of a sudden, you might see yourself moving into a different financial class over time. And then you'll be one of those people like me who's like, wait, what? I'm considered one of these wealthier people. I don't think of myself that way. I try not to spend money recklessly. I don't like to, I don't live a lifestyle that looks like that because once you start, working towards those behaviors, you'll realize that you can really get ahead and stay ahead. And there's a lot of people that have done that more than you might think.
I believe it. Do you have any recommendations as far as good investment options for like beginners?
Yeah, the first one I always talk about is, I guess ask you about your savings account. Like, how are you doing there? And do you feel like that's an investment or not? This is the easy path, right? This is like you're not learning stock market, you're not learning crypto, you're not learning, commodity trading. Just
Mhm.
your savings account. Like, do you feel like that's an investment?
No,
Okay. And why does that not feel like an investment for you?
because it's not making me money.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the problem with the savings account, right? Most savings accounts are under a 1% return. That's pennies. That's barely anything.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
nothing.
really,
Yeah.
it's nothing. So the first thing I always recommend to people is to look for a high yield savings account. They're becoming more and more common, which is the good news. It used to be you had to be a little bit rich to be able to use some of these because they require you to have
Well, of
hundreds of
course.
thousands of dollars to
That's how the
even.
system works.
Yeah, exactly.
You
They create a
gotta have credit
barrier.
to get credit, you gotta get credit to have credit, you gotta
Yeah.
yeah, and you gotta be rich to get rich, you got anyways, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. The good news is it's becoming more, you might have to be willing to use a different bank or something, but sometimes you can find deals where you don't have to have a huge minimum balance to do this. But let's just say, you want to use the one that's available to you. Maybe you're using a credit union or a bank you like, and I guarantee you they have a high yield savings account option to you that's going to be earning 3, 4, 5+%, maybe up to 9% returns. That's really good returns. It's not, again, that's nothing near a credit card where you're losing 20
Mm,
plus percent. That's why you have to
yeah,
avoid that. But with the high yield savings account, now you're actually going to see money coming back in. And it's truly passive income because every single dollar you put into that savings account, it's accruing interest at a daily rate. And every month you're going to see a payout. And when you get to a point where you have enough money in there that you're actually feeling good about your savings, you're actually going to now be making money. And that's an investment because you're actually getting returns from it. And it's an investment in you as well, because you have to have a savings account to be able to avoid some of those pitfalls in life, such as that medical bill or that broken
mhm,
down car or that life event that hits you. Instead of taking a loan or dipping into a retirement account or something like that, which has a massive cost to it, that sets you
mhm,
way further back, your savings account can absorb it much better. So that's the first place to start, is to get to a high yield savings account, which can give you a good rate of return. And then over time, after you beat that goal, now you have a capital that you feel like you might be able to actually start to invest in different ways, which I can get to with like my second, third, and fourth tips, which are other ways
mhm.
you might think about investing.
Very interesting. You had talked about it a little bit, but is there any advice you can give us about how to get out of debt? Because that's what I have a problem with. I mean, I know, yeah, that savings will do a wondrous job with that, but
Yeah, the first way is to understand your cost of living, like your spending habits. And so if you look at that tool I mentioned that I put up for free, there's an expense section to it where you just dump in, you just export out all of your expenditure from your bank and your credit card in there, and you have all those items in there, and you can start to group and look at those and just understand how am I spending my money today? Am I spending my money in the best way I can? Because the truth is, you don't have a lot of control of a lot of things, but how you spend your money, you do have control of. And costs are going to keep going up with what's happening today with the economy. We might see even double the rate in groceries in the future, and job wages likely to be cut. It's going to get harder. And so when inflation goes up, we only have a few options to hedge that. But one of the things we truly do have control over is how we spend. And you might say, well, no, not really. I have to buy food. I have to pay gas. I have to do this. I have to do that. And that's true. And those are your those are your essential expenses. And you
Mhm.
have to pay those things. And there might be some tricks to save a little money here and there. But
Mhm.
once you have to calculate that, and that's your baseline. That's basically your standard is your all of your essentials. But you'll
Mhm.
notice everyone has a degree of non-essentials that they spend on as well. Things that we have our reasons, right, to spend on these things. That's the area you could look to either optimize or even potentially cut into a bit. Bundling subscription services, moving to a different mobile provider, actually eliminating some of the stuff in your life by selling things, or not buying new things until you get rid of something that you already have. Like, there are lots of little life hacks you can do to start to optimize spending and to get yourself into a situation where now you actually understand what your costs are, so that you can actually set a real savings goal. All extra money goes to that goal until you're making good money on that investment. And then again, after you get past that, all that extra money can start going into higher return investments, such as maybe a stock market investment, or a crypto, if that's what you like, commodities. There's other ways to make money too, which I can discuss, such as setting up royalty payments, or dividends. There's lots of stuff in the book. The book is a comprehensive guide. It covers pretty much everything that should at least think about, because everyone's situation is different.
Okay, you were just talking French to me there a
Okay,
minute ago.
sure, sure.
So, if I read your book,
Yeah.
is it for laymen?
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
I appreciate you saying that.
Wonderful, because I'm them. I'm her. You said budget. You mentioned budget. How do
Mhm.
you
No, no, no. You're asking the right
effectively,
questions.
how do you budget effectively?
Yeah, so it's all in the book. The book does not assume you know any of these things, and like, it doesn't just like hit you with these words and say assume you're someone who's already, because I know, like, you're not taught these things. No, I wasn't taught these things. I know my kids aren't taught these things. We're not
Mm-mm.
being taught these
They
things.
don't want you to know these things because they
So,
want all the money for themselves.
but
Anyways,
knowing these things can make you dangerous, right? Like, enough so that
exactly.
you can get stuff done. So budget, right? A budget is a powerful tool. Like, you actually go and you know what your spending is. You understand your costs, and you have a goal. You want to, let's say you want to get to $20,000 in your savings account, because now you're going to be getting a good, let's say, $20 back a month, and that's your first goal. You'll have a higher goal later with more money coming back. But to get to that $20,000, it's going to take some time. Your first thing is you have to get rid of all that debt, and then you need to budget to be able to meet that $20,000 savings goal. Well, to do that, you have to limit how you're spending in different categories. You might need to budget how much you spend on food, as an easy example. By examining your costs and your spending, you can see how much you're actually spending eating out, how much you're actually spending going to movies or buying or on your favorite hobbies. And I'm not saying you have to eliminate all those things. All you're doing is you're constraining those things to the degree that you need to speed up how fast to hit your $20,000 saving goal. So it's all about coming up with the plan.
Your wages have to be higher than your bills in
Yes,
order to do
yes,
that.
yes, yes, and that's a huge
And
point. And yeah,
I did cover in an episode that I did a couple weeks ago that we have to prioritize. If we're on a budget, we have to prioritize what we are spending money on, and it always happens to be that we cut out the fun stuff in life. So,
yes, you're right.
that sucks.
Yes,
But
yeah,
the outcome is pretty cool if you put it to work and you do the work, and if you're
and
smart like Mr. Daniel here.
well, and there are people that can help too, right? Like, you don't have to do this all on your own. You might think, I don't think
But you
there's
gotta
any.
pay a finance guy, you gotta pay your
Well,
broker. Why is he called a broker? He makes you broke.
oh, the brokers are, yeah, the brokers are there just to help facilitate making trades, right? They're there to do with help you with the transaction, to
Yeah.
make sure that you can sell the thing and the other person can buy the thing. But there are fiduciaries. Now, here's
Mhm.
another word you probably haven't
Yeah.
heard, but a
I know what that
fiduciary.
one means though.
Oh,
I'm yeah.
okay, great, great. Sorry, I'm not assuming you don't know any of these. But the
No,
audience
I
may
know.
not
I'm the
know
one that
this
said it.
word. But a fiduciary, you can ask, like, are you a fiduciary? This person just has a legal right not to do harm, right? They should be looking out for your best intent. Yeah, they should be. People are
Mhm.
people. So you need to always understand, ask questions like, how do you get paid? They should be asking you questions about your goals, even maybe your taxes. Like, you should be able to have a real conversation about money. And then there are nonprofits. I actually volunteer with a great nonprofit that goes around teaching financial wellness. I actually give free time as well. You can schedule time at the site. And I'm happy to sit down with folks and look through, because you might not see an area that you can budget, or you might not know how to find a higher return savings account, or maybe you are ready to put that first investment into a stock. And you're like, wait, what do I do? What's an ETF or an index fund? Like, what type of stock is safe? How, is this even the right time to put money into the stock market with all the uncertainty going on? And so there's a lot in these topics. And so the book introduces them and helps you know enough about them so that you can have productive conversations with folks. And keep in mind, you can go talk to a financial person without having to spend money. There are plenty of financial people who will meet for free and consult on things, but then they'll try to upsell you.
Mhm.
So you can get 1 or 2 free meetings, which is enough to get a good idea about where you are, and to get a plan going. So I suggest everyone think about taking advantage of that.
Or you can just read Escape the Clock. And
I try to make it easy for people to have everything they needed. Yeah, absolutely.
all right, how about this, the big one, planning for retirement?
Yeah, that's huge. Like let's just be honest. Like, our retirement system is failing everybody. It's, back in the day, you would be working for a company for your life. You'd be loyal to this company. They give you a pension, which was their way of saying, we're going to take care of you after you've worked 40 plus years here.
Because you've been taking care of us for the past
Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah, a lovely, lovely thing. But pensions are hard to find nowadays. Are pretty much dying out. And so this 401k thing popped up, right, as an idea that, hey, we can have our contribute to our own retirement accounts, and they will be invested. And because they're invested through the growth of us improving our own economy through our labor through these jobs, will all come ahead. Well, the generation that has started piloting this has now grown up and has gone into retirement, and the balances are nowhere near what people need to retire on. Right
Mhm.
now, the average 401k balance is $141,000. And if you really think about it, that doesn't cover much of anything. If you look at the average cost of living, a single person's cost of living averages between $45,000 and $75,000 a year. A family of 4 will be between 90 and 150. Of course, that will vary by state, and so on.
Mhm.
But let's just say that you need $50,000 a year to live. Well, depending on when you're retiring, you might need that $50,000 to last you 20 years or more.
Mhm.
And that's not even thinking about inflation. Costs will go up. And so you have to think about how that's going to change. Well, $140,000 is not going to last you very long, at best 3 years if things go well.
Mm.
So 401ks aren't really working. And so there's other retirement accounts like IRAs. And you might have heard of like traditional IRAs and Roth
Mhm.
IRAs.
Mhm.
They're just different ways that the money kind of is taxed. If you invest it well, by the time you need it, it's going to be able to cover you without any worries. So I'm simplifying this a lot right now, but this is the basis for it. And if you're not investing them, then you're not getting the advantage out of them. And sadly, a lot of people don't realize that they have to actually invest these accounts. They're having money put into them, but they're just sitting as cash in those accounts and
Mm.
not getting any of the advantage from them. So if you're not sure, if you have one of these, you're not sure you're invested in it, definitely go and look at that. And when it comes to investing, it doesn't have to be intimidating. They simplify the options for you. You can just pick one of the standards, or you can set up one of those free calls with a finance person or myself, and happy to describe like the different types of options for you.
I'm going to throw a couple of curveballs at you here.
All right, let's
I
do it.
don't know if you can answer these or if we'll just see what goes on. I would like somebody to tell me how it's possible. Okay, so Social Security, that we pay into our Social
Mm,
Security, right?
yep.
That's our money that we're putting in there for us for later, like you were talking about, right?
Right. Yes.
How could he possibly take that away? It's
Ooh.
our money.
Yeah, we'll end up speculating a little bit here. Social
That's all we can do
Security.
at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But Social Security is the lifeblood for many, many, many Americans today. They the administration will downplay that. They're like, oh, who cares? Like, we get a Social Security check in the mail and don't even open it. But the truth is, a lot of folks that feel that way, it's because they're mega rich. And why would they care about a couple $1,000 check in the mail? But yet, most people need that money, right? That money is covering all their expenses. And so Social Security is the reason that a lot of retirements are able to work today. Without it, those retirements would fail. And that's a terrible thing for many people, and people are nervous about that. And so regardless if you believe there's been a lot of fraud or whatever in there, the system is designed to ensure that retirement can happen today. And if it were to be taken away, something would have to replace this. Otherwise, I can't imagine how the current administration would handle the, millions of people who would suddenly be thrown into a poverty situation. And so,
Pretty sure
these
they
are
don't really
senior
care.
citizens. Yeah, this is a social service, right, that the government provides today that actually provides real meaning and value in people's lives. Taking that away is it's just unfathomable to me. Yet it is the most expensive service offered by the government. From a budget perspective, nothing is more expensive than Social Security.
But we put our hard worked for money into it. So they're not paying it. It's ours. They're just holding it.
Yeah, it's a little different than that. So yes, you're putting your hard-earned money into it. So you're putting like 6% of your wages into Social Security, and so is your employer. By the way, it's not just you; your employer is also paying into Social Security.
Yeah, well, Trump was never my employer.
And so the government is collecting all that money, and they're basically then redistributing that back out to the people claiming it. There's a couple issues though, right? The workforce is not scaling as fast as the senior citizens in retirement claiming the benefits, and also the cost of living keeps going up. And so they do this thing called COLA, COLA. It's a cost of living adjustment, where basically they decide, hey, how much do we need to bump up the Social Security payments every year based on the overall cost of living increases. It's a big deal. Like, imagine you're getting a paycheck. Let's say you're getting $1,500 a month right now from Social Security. Well, you might see that if your cost of what you have to spend money on goes up 4%, but your Social Security doesn't go up at least 4%, then you're behind. So you need that COLA number to go up. But every time they bump that, the scale of how that impacts those people is massive, because so many people are now collecting that a single even 0.1% increase in that becomes, billions of dollars. So it's a big issue. And that's why it's become so expensive. There's not as many people paying into it at the same rates that people are collecting out of it. So it's creating a large deficit.
I got one more curveball for you.
All right.
We should take money out of Congress. We should take money out of it, because that's what it's led to. I mean, everything was always revolved around money. Everything could be bought or sold, but our welfare, our livelihoods should not be bought and sold. It shouldn't be about the money for politicians, because then they're not about the people.
Oh, I agree. Let me just to take it back to kind of like what I covered in the book, because like I know that the tax system, even the people that work in the tax system knows it's broken. Like everybody knows it's broken. It's just a fact. I guess because I know I can't fix the tax system, but I wanted, like, for my situation, I'm like, how do I get ahead knowing that I'm constantly going to be paying out a lot of all my earnings to taxes every year? I cover it the idea of like, how do I understand that my income is going to be different at different phases of my life? So, when you're young and you're not working yet, your income is low, maybe zero. There's not a lot you can do though, because you don't have any capital. But when you're working and your income's going up and up and up, your taxes are going up as well. There's certain moves you make at those phases, which is different than you make later, such as in a retirement situation. And so there's strategies in the book, like tax gain harvesting, tax loss harvesting. These are terms, but they're covered in the book, and they just talk about, based on how much money you're making, you should be optimizing your tax situation. And if you're not sure how to do that, you can go talk to do one of those free consultations with a tax person and say, hey, I want to know, am I claiming the right things on my W-4? Am I thinking, should I be thinking about doing withholding? Should I be taking advantage of these tax advantage accounts like this 529 or this IRA? Now, these are lots of terms. You may not be familiar with all these things, but just keep in mind that the two things are tax optimization and investing. Those are the kinds of things rich people are doing, and we have to do them as well if we ever want to get ahead.
Yeah. Those are totally some things that should be taught in school.
100%. So the best thing you can do is like start to educate yourself so that you actually get inspired because you are the only person that knows your situation as well as you can, right? No one else can possibly know your situation better.
Right.
So the best thing you can do is like start to educate yourself a little bit on the possibilities of how to stretch that money a little further so that you can have the option to start to put it in some of those other accounts. Because the sooner you do, the sooner you start a snowball effect. And once you get that money into those accounts that have reasonable interest rates or returns in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that money will grow into something as long as you don't take it back out or have an emotional reaction and move it too quickly. That money can grow into something significant.
Well, I am, for one, am very glad that you came on my show and that you were willing to talk to me and that you're such a good guy and you're just trying to help people and not sell your book. But I'm going to tell people all about your book right now, Escape the Clock. In the episode description, you will find links to find him. This has been Daniel with me on From Dirt We Grow, and I am so grateful that you have been here today.
Thank you, Stephanie. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I enjoyed it.
You as well. This has been From Dirt We Grow. Thank you for being here, guys. I'll see you next week.